So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone from wherever you are. Now, in today's sessions, we'll talk about how to execute the test cases to test manager, orchestrator. We'll see the resulting part, how we can immediately report the defect, whichever is required. Whenever we face any issues, that defects will be reported. And fourth, we'll deep dive into the SAP heat map with the practical example here. So as Atul mentioned, I'm Deepak Rai. As of now, I'm associated with the Boundless Group as a test automation practice head and 4 times UiPath MVP. So you can connect with me anytime on LinkedIn if you have any questions on this sessions or related to any events which you wanted to host it. Now, when we are talking about the SAP heat map, let me start with this topics, and when we'll jump into the demo part, I will show you rest executions part because that will be a practical demo which I wanted to give you when we are pushing the test cases, how we can create the test case, test set, and generate the execution result, and whenever we want, we can even download it. Now, so whenever we can see this word SAP heat map, the first questions arise, what is it? So here, SAP heat map is giving a test automation developer to verify which opportunities which we can see in the SAP system. It is majorly related with the opportunities where we can create more number of test cases, and based on this heat map, we can also analyze our complete SAP environment where it is required to add more number of test cases and where we are lagging behind it. So it's a low code automations and AI powered tool which we are using it under test manager. Now here there are three questions which arises when we are looking out of this. It's an instantly discover test automations opportunity within the SAP system. But how is my SAP system really used? So here, what we are doing, either we can directly connect with the test manager. I mean the SAP system, we can directly connect with the test manager, or if you have some set of informations or data which is stored in CSV file, you can also upload it and generate these type of dashboards or the heat map system. Once you will create this roadmap or heat map, what happen, it will give you a visualizations where which all areas are majorly impacted, which test cases are got failed, where you have more number of test cases where we can see less coverage. Based on that, you can reach to the conclusions, okay, we want to start with this module which is more critical for us. Based on that, you can what should I test? So you can also get the answer, what should I test? So based on this roadmap, we can also analyze it where we can majorly focus and what is required for you. Where should I start the testing? Again, these questions. So when you upload this analysis data and when you will see on your screen what happened, you will get an idea where I'm lagging, which region is majorly not focused in terms of test automation, so that you can start quickly starting the creation of the test cases and automate it. Now, there's one use cases or scenario which I wanted to talk about it. Let's consider two things. One, new customer who is just starting with the test automations or who wanted to just begin with the test automations. So the first question arises in their mind, what should I test and where should I start? SAP Heatmap will give them a complete overview where you can majorly focus, which all areas are much behind as a part of testing or automations, and how you can rapidly initiate the establishment of the project and short time of durations you can execute it, which will give you clearly module wise or region wise indications where your less number of test cases are present and which regions you have more number of test cases where team is successfully executing on regularly. So let's consider in SAP system we have different functionality or parameters like procurement department. You can also find it out the finance department. You have options for creating invoices, contract, all those area. So based on this area, you can segregate it. Either you can do the segregations based on the departments. You can do the segregations based on the functionality if you want. You can also create a segregations based on the regular uses inside your company. So based on that, the new customer will get an idea how and where they can start from zero to the advanced level of the testing. It means initiation of the projects of the software testing till the end of the executions. Next scenario, let's consider we have an existing customer who is already using SAP automation or test manager with the UiPath Test Manager or Test Suite. Now, how they will leverage this system or how they will leverage this automations or features within their environment. So first, they will review the current regression set. Just, just give me 1 second. Yeah. So sorry for that. Let me maybe maybe yeah. Now I was talking about the review our current regressions testing portfolio. It means whenever that existing customer will start, they will get an idea about it from the regression suits where is the less number of test cases present. I'm just testing around. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So with the existing customer, again, I will repeat it here. Whenever they will start with the test automations, first they will once they will jump into the SAP heat map and see the regression suite, they will find it out. Hey, these are the area which is weaker, where we don't have more number of test cases, and where we need the more intentions to focus on the number of test cases. Next is identifying the test case coverage based on the real usage of the SAP. This will also give you an outline from the SAP which functionalities are majorly used by your company. Either you can keep this data available into the CSV or you can generate it integrating your SAP system into test manager. So both way it is possible. Next is gaining insight where automated test case are covering real scenario, transactional basis or non-transactional basis. Some of the scenarios are just on the non-transactionals, like just following the flow. Maybe approval cycle. Let's consider we received one contract and we have to approve it. So those areas are not transactions. When we are receiving the invoices, those areas in SAP is transactions, because ultimately the payment has to be delivered into the end user system. Next is how many manual test cases we have and how many test cases we have covered. That also will get it from this. Identifying the gaps where real use transactions do not have any test in our portfolio. So these pointers, even existing customer can also get it based on the this SAP heat map. Now, if you can see this image, this is exactly what it looks whenever you have some set of executions done or you have processed any data within your test manager. I will show you in demo as well, so don't worry about it. Be here with me. I will explain you and post that. We'll jump into the demo part. So the image which looks is gray color, then orange as well as green. First, whenever we'll start with this type of automations or test automations, it will give you the monitoring visibility where you can monitor which areas are having less coverage, where we need more value to be added. I mean, more number of test cases to be added. Then analysis. Based on your analysis, you can proceed it further. Be either based on the transactions, based on the number of test cases, or based on the coverage. And finally, once you will get an idea where to start, you'll start working on the either writing the test cases or generation of test automation script. So here you can also store manual as well as automation suits, and this will give you exactly same analysis based on the data which you have fed into the test manager. So first, the prioritization is possible based on the real data, and second, result immediately available, because once you upload the data, this will generate exactly same type of dashboard in front of you to just analyze it and identifying the most critical transactions which needs a major focus in terms of automations. Now, here, when we are talking about the relevance and test coverage, so first is let me explain you about the color code. This gray color code does not have any data. It means whenever you'll see this gray color code, this sections don't have either data or you have not executed it at all. There are two ways to identify the gray color. Either you don't have any data in the system, or we have not executed single test cases for this functionality. And these reasons are divided on based on the informations which we have provided, or it is collected directly from the SAP system if you have integrated it through project settings. So as I mentioned, whenever you will add or integrate the system, either you can use the data from the CSV, or you can directly connect your SAP environment to Test Manager, and this will be automatically generated. So let's consider here we have general data table day, where these are the sections like SE 160 and 25% is the total coverage here. Now, to start with the reason, let's consider this is our transaction system where all the invoices related test cases are included. Next is here, let's consider this is a contract system. This one is for the procurement team. This is for any other informations which exist into the SAP, might be inwards or outwards, which we are receiving it into the SAP system. So SAP is a big applications. Whichever functionality we have configured within the organizations, that informations are bucketed into the different processes or different regions. So gray color, it means test does not exist or not executed. Red or orange, which you can call it out, it means these are the a number of test cases which we have executed have many failed executions. Either if the percentage of failures are more, or percentage of failures are less, but whenever we will execute, if the failure test cases are present, then we can see it from this region. And whenever you will see green, it means whatever the number of time you have started the executions, those executions are successfully done. It means all the test cases are passed and you have not received any errors or warning behind it. When we are talking about the relevance, when the size is bigger, the relevance of the test cases are more. You can see these are the bigger size where we need more number of test cases to be targeted. These are the smaller size. You can see less number of test cases we can include it here. This is also showing the criticality of functionality. Which functionality is much critical? Based on that, you can generate the test cases. And have you tested it? This will show us the color code. If you have not tested it, it will go into the gray. If you have tested it, we can see it into the red, and which is in the field. And if you have tested it, it's successfully executions, I mean successful execution, that will go under green. Do you have any questions here? Anything would you like to ask here? Maybe you can unmute yourselves and ask your questions. Okay, considering silence as no questions, let me proceed. Now, let's understand deeply how we can bucket the size. The a heat map shows real uses of the SAP system, including multiple dimensions and layer. The size of the each of the boxes, as I mentioned, is relevance, test relevance, how often and happily is the transactions used, or how many test cases, how much count of the test cases we have exist. More number of test cases we have, more number of the data, the size will be always bigger. Relevancy refers the degree to which the test is relevant or important for achieving any specific goal. And this could be calculated weighted based on the different parameters such as number of users, number of executions, executions time, development objects, fields, transactions, everything. Now, let's understand this concept based on the example. Here in SAP system, we have inward and outward, right? Where we are receiving the assets either or we are sending the asset externally. So when we are talking about the inward, let's consider we have 50 fields to be configured for inward to have the inward functions successfully working within the SAP environments. Let's consider we have 50 fields, but in outward we are just targeting 20 fields. So inward regions will be always bigger. I mean the size of the tile which you can see it here will be always bigger for the inward as compared to the outward, because outward is having just 25 fields which means the data or the information which contains the outward need less time to test it, where the number of test cases can also be lesser as compared to the inward. Again, I will take one more example. Let's consider we have two invoices. One invoice is length of 42 pages and another invoice is just 2 or 3 pages which contains some amount of the data, maybe just 10 fields in each of the page for the smaller invoice. But in invoice one where we have 42 pages which contains lot of informations, let's consider we have to extract in each of the page we have to extract more than 10 fields. In that scenario, again, the tile which is generated on the screen should be bigger as compared to the invoice which we have for 2 pages. So this is the reason how it is generated. And color code, as I already mentioned, based on the test coverage, how many executions we have done, and based on the status, we can see this color codes will be generated. We can also have some filters where we can see different transactions related filter, then duration based like last week, last month, and quarter. So these filters are available. Even you can apply the filter here, like past, fail, or non-test case assigned, or no test is assigned into this region. So this is how we can apply the filter within the SAP heat map. Additional configurations here, if you want to perform some attributes related informations, the number of users using the transactions, we can also see from this board. Executions time, how many per transactions is taking, the overall processing time of each of the transactions can also be configured here, and this is a window which you can see it. When you are uploading the information directly from CSV, this window will not be pop up for you. But when you are directly connecting the SAP system with Test Manager, then this window or settings will be available. So both are having a differences because in CSV we are almost filling all this data. That's the reason we don't see this configurations available on screen. Now, this is the project settings which we are doing from the project setting tab, and that's how we can see this complete transactions or test case view on our screen. Now, let's jump into the demo part where we'll start with the execution parameter and then we'll jump into the SAP heat map. If you have any questions, feel free to ask it. Okay, from this, maybe I will start from here. This is my test manager. I'm directly jumping into the test manager, and there's again, I will open the orchestrator. Now, whenever we are pushing any of these test cases from the studio or test suites, these test cases are available under this under the test sets. If you define the test set, you can get the test set detail here. If you want to create the test sets from the orchestrator, just add the test set name, either based on the priority, based on the functionality, you can add it, the name of the test set. Descriptions, type of robot which we are using, select the projects and your oh, sorry. I'm using this. Now you can see here we have the test set. Under the test cases, whenever we create a test set, we'll get all of the test cases which is available in my instance, and we'll select the test set, and this test set will be created successfully. If you want to trigger the complete test set executions from here, just select this options, I mean the execute, and this will start executing it. At any point of time, if you want to modify the test set name from the orchestrator, you can just click on this ellipsis, the three dots, and you'll get three options. Either you want to modify it or edit it, where you want to add more number of test cases. From searching here, you can add, update the fields. Maybe if you want to update the name of your test sets, you can also do it. Or either you want to add the descriptions, that is quickly possible from this, and that's how you can update any test set. If you want to create the clone, you can also do it. Just click on clone, and whichever test cases we have in this, that will be added within this clone. So here I'll just add the clone test set. And the clone test sets will be created. The exactly number of test cases I can see is the same here. Because this is the demo instance, I have just added one of the test cases. That's the reason you can see just one test case, and as I mentioned, you can also execute it from here. If you want to apply any filter, these type of filters are available. Based on that, you will get information. Let's consider I want to reset this. I want just based on the created, I will just add this filter, and I can see this created filter available within this table. Now, next is number of test cases. How many test cases we have? Just one within this. So whichever test case you will push, which will be available, and even you can execute this test case individually from here. You don't need to go to the test sets and then execute it. If you want to go ahead execution of individual test case, you can also do it from here. Majorly, this will be useful when you are testing any test case which is failing or which is giving you an error. And in this test executions here, whichever test cases are executed, what all the status we have, test sets type, start date, end date, I mean the complete durations, you can see it, and what all the sources are here. So all those executions related informations in the test manager is available here. This will not give you any visual informations just like a test manager. This is a straightforward number of test cases in the list view, and all those informations are available here. Here you can also see the details about the test case, what is the versions behind it of these test cases, if we have any attachments or coverage, if you have added anything, probably those informations are listed here. Jumping into test case executions. If you want to cancel it, you can just straightforward click on cancel, and this test case executions will be cancelled. So it will not continue for the executions. At any point of time, if you want to schedule the test cases, you can add the details related to the test case and specify the time zone, and at what time, what is the frequency of executions you want, like hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or even advanced. You can schedule it from these options. And finally, generation of test data queue. Here you can create test data queues, upload all those JSON schema here, and let's consider you have 50 or 60 test data queues to be created. I mean, within one test queue, you want to upload 60 or 70 fields or the informations. you can directly upload it through JSON schema. So this is how, and test cases which will be visible under orchestrator, and how we can start with the creation of test sets, test cases, execution, scheduling, as well as creation of test data queue. Now jumping into the test manager here. So whenever you will start with the test manager, if you have not created any projects, either you can import it or create a new project directly from this. I do have already created few of the projects, so I will jump within the project itself. Now in this wizards, you can see I don't have heat map available. So for enabling the heat map, we have to navigate into the project settings, click on integrations, and from this options you will see SAP. So once you'll click on the SAP system, it will ask you to create a new connections. Provide the name of the connections, descriptions, and you have to add these informations into test manager so that we can proceed with the heat map. So here I will just add SCP descriptions. If you want, you can add it. So there are two data sources available. Either you can directly connect your SAP instance from here, where you have to define the server name, the application server name, system ID, whichever you are using, instance number, client info, the user credentials, username and password, and for how many hours of data you want. Let's consider you just wanted the data in 24 hours of the data, you can add it. And when you are enabling the change impact analysis, it will also give you a change. It will also give you analysis connections impact where these informations will be useful. Else, second way here, if you don't have the SAP environment available, or if you don't want to connect it directly test manager with SAP system, you can also avoid it and just download the informations into the CSV file and upload it directly from here. So both the ways is giving you exactly same results, but the more number of data you have, the more accurate you can see the SAP heat map generated. I will create it this process. Now you can see this connection is added successfully and heat map enabled for me. So without connections, you won't be able to see this heat map. I wanted to show you the data as well, how data looks whenever you will export it from SAP system. Now, this is the number of informations which you can see. This is the relative to the transactions, number of users for each of the transactions, dialogues, execution time, development object, user rating scale, then dialogue rating scale. These all informations are downloaded from the SAP. So business area, you can configure it. Based on this business area, your graph will be generated. See this SAP, BC, BCs, US, then again. So these are the business area which is generated. So this is a complete export or extract of your SAP environment itself, and these are the data generated. Based on that, our SAP heat map will be generated. Here you can also see the department related informations like implementation guide, then the transport organizer, then user and authorization management, ABAP syntax compiler, so purchasing. These are the department or the variation of functionalities which companies are using. So based on this, again, it will create a impact. And module, you can see these are the different models are available. So this is a replica of your SAP data itself. So if you have the CSV information, and if your company is stopping you to connect SAP system with the test manager, you can also export this information into the CSV format, and just CSV format is supported here. So make sure the data which you are exporting that should be available into the SAP the CSV format itself. Now next is not this one. Yeah. So here, once we'll get this SAP heat map, you can see these are the informations which is generated. I did not added any test cases. I did not executed anything. That's reason you can see completely blank informations. And the data which I added was having too much informations. And you can see based on the segments, it's generated the region. For giving you more clarity, let me remove some of the data from here. I want just 66 records. Okay, project settings. Because we've already established the connection, that's reason. Let me go to the new projects. Maybe this one. Now here we don't have anything. Let me integrate it with this project as well. SAP SAF heatmap. This input got rejected because I think when I opened with the format, that's the reason it got converted into the different format. Let me see. Okay. Values. Okay. Maybe because of the format, it was showing an error. But my intention was to just I wanted to show you the smaller when we have the less number of data, less number of modules, you will see smaller means bigger icons. When you have too many regions, too many functionalities or area of configurations or departments, that will vary your heat map. So here, as I mentioned here, we can see the this heat map where we have different segments. Let me add some manual test cases here, and based on that, if I will execute it, we'll see what will be the color code which generated. Let's consider I wanted to add test case one, test one, and we'll also create a label. And if this label is generated, you can see you can either create a new labels based on this data. This region will be highlighted. You can see this label is generated SIMG. And here I just wanted to execute it. Okay, assign the requirements. Okay, now test set. New test set for heat map. I wanted to execute it manually, so execution will be started. I have to just add the pass so that we can have some value available. Set as pass. This will be successfully executed. When I will go to the heat map, I can see the color code got changed. Again, I will add one more test case within that same test set, because this test set label is mapped with my first segment or region, and here I will create one more test case.
Deepak, sorry to disturb you for a bit. I'm muting all the participants for 1 second, and then if you can unmute, there are some background noises coming. So just I'm muting all the participants, and you can unmute after that.
Okay.
Yep, try now.
Yes. It's working.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, next test case I want to add as a test case 2. Again, we'll use the we don't have any labels added. So the test set where we have two test cases. Oh, we did not add something here. And this time I'm marking this test case as failed. So whenever I will jump into the heat map, you can see. So I've created two test cases. One I've executed once, and that I mark the status as passed. And second, again I'll execute the same test case. Next time I'll mark the execution as failed. So it means we got a percentage of 50-50%. It means 50% pass and 50% fail. That's the reason this color code becomes a green color. Here, see the filter is 0. You can see all the filters are available. Based on the filters, you can also segregate it. As of now, we have just added the fields here only. But if I wanted to create a test cases, I can also include within this area as well. But I will not execute it. I will just add the test cases, and that's it. Test case 3. So basically, this is not a manual work. You have to post the test cases from the from your test suits, and based on that, you can generate. Because I do have the less number of informations here, that's the reason I'm just creating it manually to show you example. Create more number of test cases. Test 4. So once you have the test cases, you can directly add it. You don't need to create it. Now we have this data available. This one, I'm going to the test set. Because this test case we have captured it from the orchestrator. Let me execute it manually, add the result as fail. Now, when we'll go to the jump into the SAP heat map, because here initially when we have added the second test sets, that is not mapped with the label. That's the reason you can see the Scott read. It means we have not executed at all. So this is how you can see the change of color codes whenever you will start executing it, or whenever you will start working on the SAP heat map. In terms of settings inside the integrations, if you want to change the, at any point of the time, if you want to change the configuration, straight away go to the settings, and you can switch back to your data source, like directly connecting your SAP system with the heat map. So concluding that, based on the informations which is available in your test manager, that you can integrate it and see the results which is available here. and here you can also add the filter. So either if you want to just see the past cases, or if you want to see the failed cases, which is available here. Any regions which you want to see it, which is not executed, uh, that is which is not executed, which you can apply the filter, and based on that you'll get it. After that, if you have if you don't have any reasons which is assigned with the no test case assigned, that reason is also applicable or visible in this checkbox. So these are the filters which you can apply to see the result accordingly. Let's consider you want to start with a very smaller reason which we don't have any data available. Here you can create the test cases and assign it. Else we can also add the label directly to each of the test cases, and that will get assigned. So let me copy one of the label from here. So this is a label which is created. Trans. Second, let me write it down, and we'll use this for assigning the label. Here is my test case. Clone, maybe I will create a clone of it. This is a test suite. Oh. This is my test set, test cases, and here you can add, you can see this label. So oh, I cannot modify this. Maybe let me create a new one. Not the test set. I want to create the test cases itself. Test case test 3 versions, and here we'll add the descriptions. Now, when we can see this test case, we have the label. That's the reason. When you jump into the heat map, this will contain some of the information. Still, we have not executed. That's the reason we can see this color code. But when we will perform the executions of this test case, we can see the results generated. I mean, the color codes will be different. So this is how we can generate the color code of each of the segments, each of the reasons. Majorly, this will be important when we are having the more number of informations for each of the departments, functionality, transactions. Then it will be helpful where it will give you an idea which sections you can start with, which is having more number of weightage, which needs more intentions to be added in terms of test automations development. Now, in terms of executions point of view, when you wanted to see the results, this is the results which is available here, which you can even download it, export it into the Excel file, and creation of the test sets as we have created it from the orchestrator. You can also create it from this bucket. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, I will be happy to take it.
Hi Deepak, I'm audible.
Yes, please. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, myself Naveen. Consider this the SAP which we are integrating directly through cloud integration.
yeah.
So where we are running, right? Is same thing we can do with the Oracle as well, or it's only for SAP?
See, if you fit this data into, if you wanted to integrate within the data of the SAP, like you have the proper number of regions and validations, then only it will work. Majorly, this feature is built for the SAP itself. So, if you have the simple set of transactions or informations into the CSV file, you can upload it and try to replicate it. But the major functionality is working for the SAP itself, just for the SAP.
Okay, thank you.
No issues. Any other questions for anyone? Maybe I can see some of the chats. I think it's already replied by someone. Okay, thank you, Atul, for replying all those questions. Okay, do you have any other questions here?
I think Deepak, one
Hi there.
Naveen, Naveen has one from the last session. I'm not sure if you want to handle that. He was looking for the some template from
Yeah,
the last
so
session. Yeah.
okay, Naveen already reached out to me, so just allow me this weekend. I will share with you. I already have your email ID on LinkedIn, so don't worry. I will share it. I have to change these templates because I've used this template for one of my clients, so I have to modify it, remove all those credentials, and share it. So
Sure,
by
thank
this
you.
weekend you will get it.
Thank you, Deepak.
Yeah.
Hi Deepak, Ganesh here. I
Yeah.
have one question. Yeah, in the test manager, can we load or store the repository?
Repository means you want to store the images or screenshots, or you want to upload any data or informations.
I mean to say, I want to maintain a centralized repository where user or tester or who develops the code or develops the workflow, they can utilize the repository from the centralized place. See, now what I see is all the test is it's one-to-one mapping means that is the repository is applicable only for that test. But
Yeah.
then what happens is everybody will create their own repository. The size will get to place a centralized repository where user or a developer can utilize whatever they require. Is it
So
possible?
in this case, maybe we can create a separate projects. Within that, you can store all those test cases, and whenever you want to execute it for the different projects, you can just move that. But saving it in the same projects might create a conflict if user is using that will get changed. So yes, you can do it, but that is the workaround. It's not a straightforward. So you can create a different folder, push all those test cases within that folder or within that project, and if you want you can move it from one project to the other.
Okay. One more question related to the report. There, the logs, can I integrate these screenshots and store it
Yes,
in
you can.
orchestrator
Yeah,
or a test manager?
in test manager you can do that. The attachment or images are available to add it in each of the test case.
Okay. So means for each step I have to take the screenshot in that case.
No, if you want to just attach the documents or images which you have for the test cases, you can add it there.
Okay.
So
Super.
it is not required to take each and every step. Let's consider you have just one screenshot, you want to upload it. Yes, that's fine, you can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no issues. Yes,
Sir, I
Sanjeev,
have,
you have an.
sir, I have one question.
Yes, please.
Sir, why we not able to run test cases from test manager?
We can do that.
No, sir, we can run test set, but we cannot run test case from test manager.
For individual test cases, you are talking
Yeah,
about it.
yes, yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So see, that's the functionality how it is built, right? So it's the functionality which is built on the test manager point of view. Uh, and this is also valid. Let's consider you have created one folder and you want to execute it all folder completely. So rather than giving options to one test case, uh, uh, maybe as a part of tester itself, because you have automated all those test cases, right? And you want to execute it at once. Rather than giving the functionality to one, executing each one of the test cases, probably it's always better to execute the complete set itself, right? That's the functionality it is in. From orchestrator, that's a different, where initially they have created the process, and that's how it continuing the same functionality. But in test manager, we have to integrate with the test sets and the requirements, then only we can execute it. So that's a standard approach of software testing. Otherwise, there will be a no use of the automation and all, right? Any other questions from anyone? Okay, if you don't have anything, probably we'll wrap up. Thanks a lot for joining. Have a
Sorry,
good day.
Deepak.
Yes, yes, please.
Sudarshan here.
Hi.
So, seeking some best practices that can be adapted using UiPath Test Suite. So, we recently adapted one use case with the opportunity to invoice generation from Salesforce to SAP. So, currently it's on development phase. So we would like to check with you that where we can have the input data for this use case. We have created it's all dependent test cases only. Actually, we are trying to create as a independent test cases where
Okay.
business user can actually need to test as a independent modules. Let's say
Okay.
opportunity creation as a separate modules and the code creation as a separate modules. So in such a way, we are trying to create this use case. So how we can approach this use
So you
case
have built
to
the automations, or you have built the testing for testing.
it's completely testing.
Okay. See, initially when we are working with the SAP or Salesforce related environment for the test or testing, right? uh, the data is very critical part. Unless and until you will not cover each with each of the corner cases, probably your testing will be incomplete. That's the reason whenever your test case will start, maybe you can use one of the Excel file. First, it will means a set of test case. I mean, let's consider you have priority one test cases, where in priority one test cases you have 10 to 15 test cases available within that folder. Whenever that set of test cases start executing it, first you can push the data in the queue. Maybe you can maintain those data into your Excel or CSV format, and whenever the automation will start, post the data into the queue. And once this execution is done, either you can do the consume. So if test case one is executed, consume one set of the data, you can mark that consume. And once the complete execution is completed, like for all 10 test cases, and you want to use the same set of test data again, you can again mark or update those consumed value of queue to the unconsumed, so that whenever you will execute the second time for the priority one test cases, same set of the data can be used. So that's related with the your test data. There are several other best practices which you can follow, where UiPath is suggesting maybe don't create a bigger workflow for the testing. Try to test a small functionality in one of the flow. Then segregation of the data, when you are using the data, try to use the actual informations rather than using the random data. So these maybe when you will search on the UiPath forum, you will get a complete best practices list which you can follow and where you will meet your expectations. Hope that answer your questions.
Right. Thanks for that. So as you
No
said
issues.
earlier, for the previous question someone asked here. So is this the right approach we are moving with the test suite that we are creating as an individual component, right? We are doing application testing.
Okay.
Deepak, do you want me
See,
to take it? Because
yeah,
we're doing the
yeah, please.
similar on our side, just to add to that, what Sudhakar is saying. Just to share our experience, I think we did a similar from opportunity to SAP invoice use case, where the opportunity and the codes are coming from Salesforce, and then it feeds into SAP to create the set of invoices. So very similar to what you're saying. We did component-wise test cases where opportunity creation or a code creation based on Deepak's point that we had Excel created, with the Excel was the source for the test data as to what opportunity ID or the any Salesforce related IDs you want to maintain there. And then there was another set of a components which are more working on the SAP side to create a sales order or to create the delivery or the invoicing, whatever is relevant in your case. So I think there's no one answer to that, but I think it depends on how you prefer. But in our experience, it worked fine. That where we had individual components for each platform, and then we created separate Excel tabs to feed the test data to each component.
Okay. Thanks for the detailed clarification, Rahul and Deepak.
Sure.
Thank you, Rahul. Okay. Other questions for anyone? Or if you don't have anything, maybe we can wrap up. Cool. Considering silence as no questions. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining this. We'll be happy to see you again in session 5 and 6. Till then, happy weekend.
Thank you so much once again, everyone, for joining. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.